And this is a Connecting Point, the state we're in, Web Extra. I'm Jim Madigan, and we are joined by the candidates in the Democratic primary for Hampden District Attorney. Nobody else is running, so the primary on September 9th will decide who is Hampden County's top prosecutor for the next 4 years. The candidates are Shawn Allyn, Hal Etkin, Anthony Gulluni, and Brett Vottero. Let's talk about the drug crisis, and we've seen action at the state level trying to put more money into mental health and some other programs, but we've seen an epidemic of drug and opioid deaths in the last few months or years. Governor Patrick calls it a public health emergency. What's needed? What will you do at the county level to try and combat this situation?
You use the critical words. It's a public health issue, not so much a criminal justice issue, but the district attorney finds himself at the forefront of that battle against drugs, and it really spans the entire county from our urban centers to even our rural areas in Hampden County. So the district attorney's office is going to have to acknowledge the issue as a public health issue and deal in treatment more than anything else. You can look at it from a business perspective and there's supply and demand. We've certainly got to continue to focus on the supply side of things and prosecute those folks supplying and profiting off people's tragic addictions. And that's the work I've done for several years now, and we have to be swiftly and aggressively prosecuting those kinds of drug dealers. But we've got to look at the demand issue more than we have done to this point and focus on the folks that are having the addiction issues, and it's resulting in crime. They're coming in with possession offenses, they're coming in with petty larcenies and so forth, and address the core issue. And I think the district attorney's office is going to have to partner with the trial court, Jim, in instituting programs so folks can get out of the regular stream of cases in the district court or even superior court in some cases and deal with their issue, focus on treating these people, getting them well, and hopefully we don't have a revolving door where addiction becomes an ingrained problem and results in suicide, as we're seeing in many tragic cases, and lives of crime.
Mr. Vottero.
Well, for 30 years, people with drug addiction have been a factor in the criminal justice system, but have never been a priority. You know, I served as an assistant DA to Matty Ryan, to Bill Bennett, to David Sullivan, and an assistant attorney general to Scott Harshbarger. And with every one of them, I urged them to shift their priorities from the prosecution of street-level drug dealers to identifying drug users and getting them into treatment. We haven't tried that in the war on drugs. And the war on drugs is not being won the way it's being fought. The danger that we have are people using drugs, people becoming addicted to drugs for a variety of reasons. But if we're serious about it, and we need to be, because it's people's children and people's parents that are suffering from it, we have to find new strategies. So it was a proposal I wrote for Matty Ryan years ago to give people who are charged with cocaine or heroin possession a choice of treatment versus dismissal. But the DA's office has to lead that. They have to get the police to start making that their emphasis rather than street-level dealers.
Mr. Allyn, drugs.
Look, it's a failed system. As I've said, all these guys have been in the DA's office, and nobody's done what I've proposed, and that is to treat nonviolent drug offenders in a different way than we have. 30 of the 200 people that are dead have come from this region. 19 of them were incarcerated and released. The cost of incarcerating a nonviolent drug offender is $42,000. There's statistics that say it's about $8,000 to treat. It is about supply and demand, but it's about a new approach. And is the person elected really going to do it? Do they have the background to do it? I have rehabilitated people my entire adult life. Even as a defense lawyer, every day I'm calling drug programs, counseling programs, because that's really the way to go with someone that's addicted to drugs. Also, the opiates. Who is prescribing the opiates? My office will have an opiate review panel. Doctors should not be prescribing OxyContin to young kids because they're having their teeth pulled or for any other reason. So who is getting these kids hooked on opiates? And it's a problem that's countywide. I've been everywhere. Ludlow, Longmeadow. It's not just a poor inner city problem. And then when the kids can't afford to pay $20 to $30 for a pill, they then resort to a bag of heroin, which unfortunately is about $4 or $5 cheaper than a pack of cigarettes. And we know that that's almost a death sentence. So we have to change our focus, and we need someone that can do that and that has done it. I have a proven track record of doing it, and come January, the focus will change under my plan because I have a new vision for nonviolent drug offenders.
Mr. Etkin.
I think there's agreement among the candidates that this is the solution is a treatment solution. But the real question, if I understood you correctly, what can the district attorney do? And I think the district attorney can do two things right away. One is to work with the educational school systems to develop programs where the young people can learn what happens when you get addicted. To make them aware that how this problem starts, to educate them so that they won't make that bad choice in the first place. But also, while you're doing that, I think you have to concentrate on the criminals who are bringing their heroin and are making money off of bringing these pills in to supply these users who are addicted. The district attorney needs to marshal the resources of the Hampden County law enforcement community, and let's get these people who are bringing these making money off of people's misery and put them in jail where they belong.
What's going to be our final question? We'll go first to Mr. Vottero. Senior citizens, so often victims of crime, so often very fearful of being victimized in their homes. What, if anything, would you envision doing specifically to assist and protect our seniors?
It's actually the only promise that I've made during this campaign, and that has been to senior citizens. On the civil side of the law, whenever an elderly person is a plaintiff or a defendant in a civil case, the law gives them the right to ask for the case to be heard quickly. Now, the DA's office controls the calendar, and so what I've said is when I'm the district attorney, in any case where we have a senior who is a victim or a witness in the case, that case is going to have some priority. They shouldn't have to come back to court time and time again. And we need to make sure that their testimony is absolutely necessary before we make them do that. So it can be a very difficult experience. You know, there's nobody who comes into that courthouse with a smile on their face. They're there for difficult reasons, and that includes seniors as well. So we've had in the past victim witness advocates who've specialized in working with elder victims. I've certainly prosecuted some horrendous elder abuse cases, both physical and financial. So they're a particularly vulnerable group when it comes to finances. I've certainly met with Springfield Senior Services, and the volume of referrals they have to the DA's office is high. And the promise I've made to them is that those will be acted upon quickly.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Allyn.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is hire a senior citizen as a victim witness advocate and get them the training they need to go out and do the education and to empower our elderly people. Very often it's easy, well, we'll continue the case, the person won't come in, and people often forget that our elderly citizens are more often than not abused either financially or otherwise from people they know, their own family members. So it's very important to have somebody to go out into the community to a senior victim that they can relate to. Example, another senior that will help them feel comfortable, teach them the court system, and make them feel empowered in order to come in. And that's what's going to happen in the Allyn administration come January.
Mr. Etkin.
Education is very important. The seniors need to be alerted to scams, to when they're being abused. That information needs to be provided, and the district attorney's office should be the ones doing that. Also, I think the problem is, even though there's presently an elderly abuse unit in the DA's office, it needs more resources. It needs more prosecutors, and it needs more investigators. The reality of the situation now is if there's a theft involving a senior, that's a very complex case. It might involve someone who was a healthcare provider, been stealing money over the years. Records from banks have to be obtained. They have to be analyzed. You have to meet with the senior to develop information. It's actually sad that our most cherished members of our community, the seniors, the crimes against them aren't given the importance that they should be given. You're going to have more investigators and more prosecutors under a Etkin administration.
And Mr. Gulluni.
I think it is the most solemn and important responsibility of the district attorney to protect those that are most vulnerable in the county, and seniors certainly fall in that group. So it's incumbent on the district attorney to devote as many resources as possible to this kind of effort, and not only prosecuting those folks who are taking advantage of senior citizens or hurting them, but also engaging prevention and education. And we have a terrific elder abuse unit now in the DA's office that works very closely with senior services and many other state and nonprofit agencies to get out to senior centers and senior homes and hopefully prevent the kind of financial and physical abuse that senior citizens are sometimes vulnerable to. So in my administration, education will continue and be buttressed, and the swift and aggressive prosecution of those folks taking advantage of those vulnerable people will certainly be a priority.
Well, thank you, sir. Candidates, thank you one and all for spending time with us. Thank you for taking the time to log on and joining us for this web exclusive on WGBY.org. Don't forget to vote September 9th.